Launching Kingdom Hearts for the first time after having seen Disney characters like Donald and Goofy on the cover, nearly engulfed by a giant heart, I had envisioned a game that was fairly ordinary, a regular kids game. I was 11 at the time, had played my first Final Fantasies, but could never have imagined what laid in store. Because if the whole thing didn't open up with a banger of a J-pop song and probably awakened something in me, the very next sequence probably did. A somber, reverent, and dark opening. Kingdom Hearts turned out to be as frightening as it was charming and funny, and even though it definitely tested my bravery, Kingdom Hearts 1's opening was perfect all the same, perhaps even more so for it. So just how did Squaresoft manage to direct such a memorable and meaningful introduction to one of its most iconic games ever? Well, it is in fact, and I say this without any humor, irony, or intentions of pun, because it had heart. And if you'll stick with me, I'll tell you why. The early 2000s became a treasure trove of fantastic kids games. I mean, the PS2 was practically the goose that kept laying golden eggs, with the likes of Jak and Daxter, Sly Cooper, and Ratchet & Clank, all receiving at least 3 games on the platform in the span of 4 years. Practically unheard of today. These were all legends in their own ways to the point of essentially becoming the console's mascots. But what none of them truly offered was a deeply human story that first and foremost, and not as a secondary or tertiary priority, focused on interhuman relationships and feelings of longing, friendship, and even romantic love.
Hey, baby!
Sure, they could be awe-inspiring, particularly the Jak series, where my mind would wander about the precursors and dig so much deeper into their lore and history. But again, none of them truly went to the depths of the heart, so to speak, and felt tantalizing in a way that sparked both fear and joy. This depth, this all-encompassing approach to storytelling in a PS2 Kids game that was on the surface colorful and hilarious, literally featuring the characters you already knew from Disney cartoons, that had never really been done before. But Squaresoft, on their first try and in the opening hours, managed to show exactly why Kingdom Hearts was different. Because there truly is something different about a kid talking to you calmly as he is falling into the depths of oblivion, his words flashing across the screen and adding weight to those words. And then it all explodes into a fast-paced J-pop techno banger telling us that simple and clean is the way that you're making me feel tonight. I mean, what the heck is this? But you know, I think to anyone, even to a kid, perhaps especially to a kid, the showing is more impactful than the telling. And what we see is the same kid, now alone on a beach, seeing a person who's presumably his friend, reaching out to him for reasons unknown while a giant tidal wave is about to engulf him. But it's impossible to reach him, the current is just too strong. And the kid, who by now has certainly been self-inserted by the player, is dragged back to the beach. And now there's a girl there. In fact, she's kinda cute, waving at us. We make it back to the beach even, smiling when we reach her. But something's in the sky, falling out of it. In fact, it's us. But how could that even be? And suddenly the real us or whatever falls backwards, becoming that person falling from the sky. And before you know it, we are all alone again, in a deep dark void, except for the beautiful Disney Snow White fresco unveiled to us by white doves. I mean, this broke my brain as a kid, not just because of the interpretive and surreal introductory scene that was like nothing I'd seen before, but also because of what awaited. This contrast between the colorful character with the giant yellow boots, the Disney imagery repeating, and the absolute black void surrounded by the dark choir music of Dive Into the Heart, which would end up becoming arguably Kingdom Hearts' most iconic sound, since more or less every game features this very specific tune and sequence. It sets the tone, the entire stage for what Kingdom Hearts is, or back in 2002, what Kingdom Hearts will become. A universe that takes itself seriously, yet one that's not afraid to have fun and be genuine. At least, that very much was the case in these early days. One of the most pivotal aspects of this introduction is the concept of choices, doors, and shadows. Kingdom Hearts is an action RPG, and luckily it does lean into this RPG part, so you're not necessarily boxed into a certain type of gameplay style. You see, Kingdom Hearts actually gives you the option to an extent tailor your class, by offering you a focus on offense, defense, or magic, determining how every level up changes you in terms of how your stats upgrade, and when different abilities open up to you. This entire section is very basic tutorially, but I still like how it's woven into the narrative. By completing tutorial tasks, we end up finishing this magical assembly of a door that when completed takes us to a sunny, tropical paradise. But the airy music continues, and despite having just gone through the door, we are told that the door won't open just yet. This is where we get to change the leveling increase pacing, which is a very interesting concept, and Kingdom Hearts goes about it in the most cryptic way too, answering questions from people you have yet to meet. They ask questions like, what's your greatest fear? What's important to you? And what your goal in life is, which honestly, when I played this at 11, it hit very close to home. I mean, what are my goals in life, my fears, and what really is important? With an option being growing old, being alone, or making friends, it's like, yeah, this feels like it's made for me and speaks to my hopes and fears. Which, by the way, that Keen album, Hopes and Fears, also very much did and would come to do. And the gravity thrusted upon these questions by the solemn music surrounding us gives it that much more weight. Words appear out of thin air throughout the entirety of this opening, adding to that ethereal, uncertain vibe of everything. It is legitimately terrifying when we're told that the closer to the light we are, the larger our shadow becomes, only for our shadow to actually come alive and turn into one of the most fear-inducing abominations I'd seen. But throughout, the voice we read is never scary in itself really. After all, it's actually quite comforting on the surface. It tells us not to be afraid, that despite the towering darkness before us, that we carry the greatest weapon of all, and that we will be the one to open the door. That's essentially where the base tutorial ends, and I like how snappy and simple it is, despite everything going on. But that's not exactly where our introduction ends, is it? In fact, we're kind of not even halfway there. You see, Sora wakes up on the beach with one of the most iconic sentences in my vocabulary.
Whoa! Give me a break, Kyrie.
Sorry, you lazy bum.
This is when we finally get to meet our three main characters, because for all intents and purposes, they are. What's so striking about these three is how immediately charming they are. Sora, the main character, who must not be confused with Sora from Digimon, is the happy, slightly naive, but brave kid who I think most of us could identify with. Riku, who must not be mistaken for Riku from Final Fantasy X-2, whose voice actor David Gallagher is famous from other things like the TV show Seventh Heaven, which must not be confused with Tifa's bar Seventh Heaven in Final Fantasy VII, is the strong, confident, and arrogant friend who's always just a little cooler and more ambitious than Sora. And Kyrie, who can't really be confused with anyone, is the resident love interest. Love in this sense being about the purest form of love you can imagine, the kind where it's technically extremely platonic seeming, but you absolutely know there's something more there. Indeed, both Sora and Riku know this. It's arguably just as important to their friends to frenemies relationship as their difference in ambition. What's interesting is how blatant Kingdom Hearts is about the fact that there are other worlds out there. Kyrie apparently grew up in a hometown she's now separated from, and by extension, it would be weird if Sora and the others also grew up on Destiny Islands without anyone else. This becomes crucial to the story because, well, they all want to go off not just to see the other cities or towns, but other worlds entirely. This definitely seems strange, but I have to say that as a kid, I kinda just went along with it. It felt natural to talk about other worlds because, well, I also wanted to see other worlds. And I think this aspect, this obvious feature of being meant for kids, is not just well thought out, but honestly, it's done so well in Kingdom Hearts you think it was made by kids. And I say that in the best meaning way possible. The way kids want to go on adventures.
But you know, I wouldn't mind going to see it.
I'd like to see it too, along with any other worlds out there. I want to see them all.
So what are we waiting for?
The way they have friends and perhaps a love interest. The way they are embarrassed and performatively publicly shrug off ways to get to that love interest.
A Paopu fruit?
If two people share one, their destinies become intertwined. They'll remain a part of each other's lives, no matter what. Come on, I know you want to try it.
What are you talking?
The way kids crave ever more Donald Duck. It's all here and more. Of course, the central theme of this introduction is the build-up of the relationship between these three friends and their desire to go beyond this island, the physical and symbolic limit of their existence. The introductory run where everything is found in the sun, the daydreaming by the palm trees of what may lie outside once they complete the building of their raft, Sora and Riku's friendly rivalry that see them butting heads in play fights or races.
If I win, I'm captain. And if you win,
I get to share the Paopu with Kyrie.
huh?
Deal? The winner gets to share a Paopu with Kyrie.
Wait a minute.
Kyrie's very childish laugh. It's also oddly relatable. Equally important is the budding relationship between Sora and Kyrie. And even though this definitely is a love triangle, we always kind of root for Sora, don't we? And it feels like the game does too. In a pivotal scene, Sora rediscovers traces of his and Kyrie's shenanigans as children. Younger children, that is, drawing pictures of each other. When we are back in our time, Sora is adding onto the drawing, showing him giving Kyrie the Pow fruit so she will fall in love with him. It's sweet and innocent, emblematic of this childhood love story. That is, until a creepy guy in a robe suddenly appears behind us, giving us an entire speech on how insignificant and simple we are.
Who's there?
I've come to see the door to this world.
Huh?
This world has been connected.
Well, what are you talking about?
Tied to the darkness. Soon to be completely eclipsed.
Well, whoever you are, stop freaking me out like this. Huh? Well, where did you come from?
You do not yet know what lies beyond the door.
So you're from another world.
There is so very much to learn. You understand so little.
This reconnects us to the world outside and the darker parts of the introduction, as suddenly the theme of opening the door and the otherworldly is reintroduced. It keeps us on our toes in an otherwise very giddy and happy opening sequence, and that's masterfully done. In one of Kingdom Hearts' most dreamy scenes, Sora and Kyrie chat by a fiery sundown about life in general. Kyrie says that Riku's changed and asks Sora not to, and that she's finally ready to set sail and discover what lies beyond the island.
Sora, let's take the raft and go. Just the two of us.
Huh?
Just kidding.
What's gotten into you? You're the one that's changed, Kyrie.
Maybe. You know, I was a little afraid at first, but now I'm ready. No matter where I go or what I see, I know I can always come back here. Right?
Yeah, of course.
That's good. Sora, don't ever change.
Huh?
I just can't wait. Once we set sail, it'll be great.
I love this scene because even though Kyrie is overall framed as the love interest, this scene shows more than anything that she has motivations and independent thought. That she's more than just the object of desire in our little love triangle. At least, that's the promise of this scene, even though the full game might beg to differ. A crucial aspect of why this intro works isn't just down to the writing or directing, but to actually deliver on them. And this is where the excellent voice acting performances come in. Now you might think this is dragging on, and I apologize if I am, but I just feel like I have to since this is when you get introduced to these characters after all. And what strikes me even now, more than 20 years later, are these performances. Sora, voiced by Haley Joel Osment, whose initial claim to fame primarily comes from The Sixth Sense, does an incredible role as a kid who's inherently optimistic, but unsure of what lies ahead. You can hear it from the moment he wakes up on the beach.
Are you still dreaming?
It wasn't a dream. Or was it? I don't know.
To the dismissal of the love-focused Pow fruit,
Come on, I know you want to try it.
What are you talking?
to his conversations with Kyrie.
Huh?
Just kidding.
What's gotten into you? You're the one that's changed, Kyrie.
It sounds so natural and innocent in the best way, and it's part and parcel of why Sora as a character, this introduction, and Kingdom Hearts in general made such an impact on me. The same goes for Riku and Kairi too, whether it's Riku's confident older friend energy,
So, I guess I'm the only one working on the raft. And you're just as lazy as he is.
or Kairi's dreamy and hopeful one.
You know, I was a little afraid at first, but now I'm ready. No matter where I go or what I see, I know I can always come back here. Right?
Of course, as every introduction, this one must also come to an end. One evening when Sora is in his room, which I have absolutely no idea where it is or what the creators were thinking, and he apparently has a mom too, which is like, okay I guess, but what the heck?
Sora, dinner's ready. Come on down. Sora?
This tiny moment made me feel so bad as a kid, since like, okay, you've gone off into the night, Sora. Your mom doesn't know where you are. Like, okay, I guess, to the shonen protagonist Shadow Realm you go, mom, if that is your real name. And yes, these jokes were entirely stolen from a Kingdom Hearts Insider forum post, link in the description. Either way, back on the island, and everything seems to be coming together. The shadows from the opening sequence are back, infesting our paradise, yet this time we can't even hit them. Riku awaits on the island, suddenly speaking as if he's being possessed.
The door is open.
What?
The door is open, Sora. Now we can go to the outside world.
What are you talking about? We gotta find Kyrie.
Kyrie's coming with us. Once we step through, we might not be able to come back. We may never see our parents again. There's no turning back. But this may be our only chance. We can't let fear stop us. I'm not afraid of the darkness.
It's a chilling moment, with darkness awaiting both above and below, the music swelling as it engulfs Riku, who, in a moment reflecting the very first cutscene, reaches out to Sora. Sora tries to reach him, arguably not to join him, but to save him, I think, but fails. But when everything turns black, a light appears, and Sora is left alone, yet with a weapon, the Keyblade. Finally able to take on the never-ending onslaught of darkness, he makes his way back to the cave, to the door that's now blocking the entrance, the very same door we saw in the opening sequence. But what awaits inside is much more frightening than the darkness we've fought thus far. I still can't get over the way these two say each other's names, filled with as much relief as they are with fear.
Kyrie!
Sora...
And to everyone's dismay, I'm sure, Kyrie disappears into thin air, meaning that in the span of just a few moments, Sora has lost not just one, but two of the most important people in his life, not including his mom. The final thing to occur is the return of the great shadow enemy from the beginning, who alongside the rest of the darkness is about to engulf the entire world. After defeating the monster, Sora is sucked away from this once idyllic paradise and finds himself in a completely different place, where nothing is certain and nothing is known. This is the very dark ending of our deeply human opening, and the uncertain beginning of our journey in a new world. The Kingdom Hearts series has since evolved to become a whole lot of things, but it all begins so earnest and honest in this first title, so true to its characters' emotions, so genuine in its depiction of children and their motivations and outlook. In what amounts to roughly 1 to 2 hours of gameplay, or more if you want to grind alongside Tidus and Waka, we've been shown one of the most interesting and promising build-ups in video game history, but would later come to be one of the best-selling franchises ever made. And in my opinion, it's all due to how passionately written, acted, and directed this first game was. And it all began with this introduction. Kingdom Hearts 1 remains one of my favorite games of all time, but what do you think of these first hours? And do you want to see a similar video on Kingdom Hearts 2? Let me know in the comments, and if you enjoyed the video, I hope you leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Cheers!